Hey everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of wari-Q, a place where I answer frequently asked questions about life. Today's question is a very frequently asked question and something that's extremely sensitive, so I want to make sure that I handle this well. And the question is, how do I deal with negative thoughts in my life? How do I deal with negative thoughts in my life? There's a hint in the question itself towards what the answer can be. But let me start with something which is far, far, far back. Millions of years ago, when we were all cave men and women, there's only one thing that mattered. And that one thing was survival. There was nothing else that was important. There was no education, there was no earning, there was no livelihood, there was no profession, there was no vocation, there was no entertainment as such. The only thing that mattered was survival. You had to ensure that you didn't get killed every single day. You had to ensure that you didn't do anything stupid so that a wild animal killed you. You had to ensure that you didn't do any stupid that your neighbor killed you. You ensured that you didn't do anything stupid that nature killed you. Your entire focus was on ensuring the survival of yourself and thus your tribe. You had to reproduce, you had to make more of you, and the only way that you did that is by surviving. And that, over several millions of years, became the way that we act and react. Our brains became super efficient at telling us what they need to warn us against. Our brain was instant in telling us, Ankur, I sense that there is a wild animal close by and I don't want you to do anything stupid. Stay put. Don't move. If possible, walk back and get the shit out of here. Our brains were super awesome in telling us, Ankur, your neighbor is trying to get the better of you. It's quite likely that he or she may attack you when you're by yourself. Don't go by yourself. Always have company. Our brains got really awesome in telling us, don't go under that mountain because there might be a boulder that falls and kills you. Don't go out in the dark because you may fall and hurt yourself. Don't go out when it's raining too hard because you might just drown. Don't do this because it will harm you. Don't do this because it will harm you. And this simple message has been played endlessly in our brains ever since we have walked on this earth. Don't do this, else it will harm you. Now suddenly, all these years of conditioning, every million years that we have been subjected, habituated to this thinking of don't do this, else it will harm you, has now become ingrained in our evolution. That's how our brain has over several of years become what it is today. But the reality is, the world's changed. The world is not what it used to be during the times when we were cave men and women. The world is physically not as dangerous as it used to be. We don't get shot by people randomly. We don't get killed or devastated by nature randomly. It's not that we get attacked by wild animals while we're walking or living life. Most of the physical danger that used to exist back then has gone. In fact, if you were to look at data, the world has increasingly become safer every progressive decade. The number of people who get killed in war or in famines or by hunger or poverty, it has dramatically reduced over the years. And today, the world is a lot safer than it ever used to be. But the danger has manifested itself into something else. The danger to us is no longer physical. The danger to us is emotional. And our brains are still very good at recognizing things that harm us. Our body is a chemical reaction. We are just a chemical factory. So our brains just react to the chemicals and everything that happens to us. So if we are scared, whether it is from a wild animal or whether it is from a person, whether it is from an actual physical attack or something which is a verbal attack, the reactions in our body are the same. We're scared. And the brain is then very adept to telling us, you're scared, don't do this, it will harm you. Don't do this, it will harm you. And that's why it beautifully explains how we are so scared of doing things without any reason. You're scared of asking questions in a crowd because your brain's telling you, don't ask the question. When you ask the question, someone may mock you. Someone may laugh at you. Someone may think that you're a stupid person. Someone will think, what a stupid question to ask. And you will feel embarrassed. You don't want to feel that way. Don't do this. This will harm you. You want to approach someone. You want to ask something from someone. And your brain's telling you, don't do that. The person might say a no. And that will offend your ego. That will hurt you. That will make you believe that you're not good enough. Don't do this. It will harm you. You want to take a risk. You want to go and start your own business. You want to quit your job. You want to quit the toxic culture that you're working in. But your brain's telling you, no. Look at the stability that you have. You get a monthly paycheck. You have a wonderful life where you spend this money that you earn. But when you do a startup, you may not get the money. You may not make any money. People may laugh at you. Think like, oh my God, you just left such a cool job to start up on your own and it's not doing well. And what if it doesn't do well? You will be laughed at. Your friends from school, from college will be like, what a doofus. What did you just do? Don't do this. It will harm you. And that is what our brain is brilliant at. Now, how does this all tie up to how do you deal with negative thoughts? As I said, the question has a hint to the answer. Because the question could very well have been, how do you stop negative thoughts? But there's a reason why the question isn't how do you stop negative thoughts. Instead, the question is how do you deal with negative thoughts? Because here's the reality. The reality is no one can stop negative thoughts. No one's born on this planet not to have negative thoughts. No one has the capability to stop and wish negative thoughts away. The only thing that you can do is to be aware of why the negative thoughts are coming in the first place. Is to actually go deep into the reason why those negative thoughts are even surfacing in your mind. It's to have a conversation with your own self to diagnose what is it that the negative thought is telling us. But here are the things that don't work. There is so much of toxic positivity all around the world where people, when you have negative thoughts, including your own self, will tell you, stop having negative thoughts. You shouldn't have negative thoughts. Things could have been much worse. Think of everything possible that could have gone wrong. You're actually very fortunate you're only in this spot. Think of something positive. Think of something positive and this will just go away. Think of something nice to do. Why don't you go and shop for a while? Why don't you just go online and start randomly checking Instagram? Why don't you just watch Netflix and numb your senses? Why don't you do something that just makes you feel happy? Why don't you just watch some stand-up comedy? Why don't you just wish these negative thoughts away? That's what the world keeps telling us. That's what we keep telling ourselves. We keep blaming ourselves for having these negative thoughts, almost imagining that we must be in some way not wired the right way to continuously have these negative thoughts. But the only reason why these negative thoughts emerge is because of the reason we spoke about in the beginning. It's just the way our brain tells us, this isn't good for you, don't do this, it can cause you harm. When you're thinking negative, about yourself, when you're thinking you're not good enough, when you're thinking you're not adequate, when you're thinking things are not working your way, it is the brain's way of telling you there is a reason that I can explain why things don't work out your way. And if you agree to those reasons, you will be a better, safer individual. You will just know what to expect all the time. And I don't really care about your happiness because the brain's not optimized to deal with that. The brain doesn't care two hoots about your happiness. The brain's just hardwired to protect you. The brain's just hardwired to keep you safe. And anything that keeps you safe, anything that protects you, it will do it. So the next time you're feeling shitty about yourself, you're feeling that you're worthless, you're feeling that you're not good enough, it's your brain telling you, if you believe that, you will not take risks. You will not do something out of the ordinary. You will not go out of your way to solve for it, and that will make you safe. You wouldn't hurt yourself. Don't do that. You might hurt yourself. Don't do that. It's not good for you. The next time you're feeling like this person doesn't love me, this person doesn't replicate my feelings, this person has hurt me, this person is not a good person, it's your brain trying to tell you all the things that I'm saying, please believe them to be true, because the next time you wouldn't do anything stupid and get hurt again. It will convince you that all men and women are bad. It will convince you that all physical intimacy is bad. It will convince you that trusting people before you get trusted is bad. It will convince you that being vulnerable in front of someone is bad. So don't do it because it might hurt you. Don't do it because it will hurt you. And when you get to the depth of this, when you truly understand why do these negative thoughts emerge, there's only one and one reason. It's there to protect you. It may not actually do a good job of protecting you, but it's the brain's way of trying to protect you. And the next time you feel these negative thoughts come in, you feel spiraling into these thoughts and you find it hard to escape, the first thing is don't blame yourself to feel these things. Don't stop yourself from feeling these things. These are real emotions. These are live emotions of yours. This is who you are. This is who you should be comfortable with. Don't pretend to be someone else. Don't try and force yourself to think something positive. Don't try and force yourself to distract yourself from these thoughts. Be aware of them. Be aware of this thought. Be aware of what's happening to you. Where is it hurting? What is it making you feel? And then go deep to answer this question. What could be the reason the brain is trying to convince me to think of these thoughts? What could be the reason my brain is trying to convince me to think of these thoughts? And when you think of the reason, accept the reason and let it go. When you become aware of the reason, accept the reason. Find yourself saying, here is why my brain is asking me to be scared. Here is why my brain is asking me to be nervous. Here is why my brain is asking me not to trust anyone anymore. Here is why my brain is asking me to not love anyone anymore. Here is why my brain is asking me to not be the person that I was. And when you get to that awareness, when you get to that realization, take a deep breath and let it go. Magic will happen. It will not happen the first time, but if you do it, it will happen. And it will happen in a way that will leave you completely surprised. Because the biggest thing that takes our feelings away from us is us accepting those feelings. The biggest thing that takes our feelings away from us is us accepting those feelings. And that works for both good and bad feelings. So the minute you find yourself accepting what is it that you're feeling, recognizing why is it that you're feeling what you're feeling, the feeling will go away. It will leave you. Because at that point of time, the brain's like, you know what? I've done my job. This person doesn't need me anymore. It somehow feels like Ankur is okay with feeling nervous. He doesn't see any harm in that. His body is actually very calm. So it doesn't need me. It doesn't need me to tell him to be nervous. It doesn't need me to tell him to be scared. It doesn't need me to tell him to be fearless, to be fearful. And that's why I will go. And the brain is beautiful in that respect. It'll just leave you. It'll leave you with your thoughts, knowing that it's done its job and all that it was supposed to do has been achieved. And through that, you would have got the best possible way of dealing with your negative thoughts. Not stopping them, not killing them, not convincing them to go away, but realizing why they came in the first place. And that very realization will make them leave. I am sure this left you with a lot of questions. If this did, I'd love to have a conversation in the comment section below. Tell me what you felt about this. This is coming in from personal experience. I do not speak of any mumbo jumbo, but things that I apply in my own life. I've seen enough and more people do that and do that successfully. And I'd really encourage you to think about this as well. But if there's anything that you wish to clarify before you got started on this journey, I'm more than happy to either answer them myself or get an expert to answer them for you. In the meantime, please do not forget to subscribe on my channel, because that's the best way for you to know when the new video is up. Until next week, I will see you all. God bless. Stay safe. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that whenever we put up a new video, you're aware of it.